how much constant work it is to make progress in business constantly, to keep that momentum going. It's really, really tough. People really underestimate that. No one in the world, not your mum, not your dad, not your sister, not your brother, not anyone knows what you want. And they're seeing it through their lens, in their world. And in their world, they don't need that thing that you need, that long-term purpose thing that you're trying to go towards, because some people don't need that. So they're seeing it through a different lens. No one's seeing your life through your lens. That's what I'm trying to get across here. So you can take snippets of people's advice around certain topics, but when it comes to understanding what your next few moves have got to be, only you can do that. And a really good way that you can start doing that is everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Make It Big podcast. My name is Hayden. This is my podcast. On this podcast, I talk about my personal journey. I talk about insights I've learned from others, topics, discussions, personal development, business, and then also we're going to be interviewing some awesome guests. In this video, I'm going to talk about everything that 2024 has taught me. Now, it is November now. It's almost the end of the year. I've had a lot of breakthroughs this year, and that's what I want to discuss with you in this video. If you don't know who I am, I've sold over probably 1.7 million online in the last few years. And on top of that, I currently, do e-commerce still. I sell a lot online. I own an agency. I do some of this sort of media stuff. But I'm looking to taking this podcast hitting it really hard now. So I thought I'd share some of my journey now because it's important. Quite frankly, it's important, and I want to share it with everyone else so that hopefully you can speed up your lessons. No, by no means am I a massive multimillionaire expert, of course, but we are making progress, and I think it's important to sort of document that. So without further ado, let's dive into it. So everything 2024 has taught me. Now, I came into this year with a very different mindset, and my plans have changed. Now, I think it's important to touch upon this thing here, and that's the fact that most entrepreneurs really struggle to stick with one thing. And this is kind of like frowned upon, and people think, that people seem to talk about each other and talk badly of people that can't stick to stuff. They're all jumping around. I've got some old people that I know from the area where I used to live. Every time they see me, they say, "Oh, what are you doing now? Every time I see you, you seem to be doing the same thing." And I'm like, well, hold on a minute. No, I'm not. I've been doing the same business for about 6 years now. What they're doing is holding on to the old identity of who I used to be and then trying to put that sort of image on me because they can't keep up with the life that I have and the fact that I'm happy for them changes. So I guess that's kind of the first lesson that I've learned here. Most people really struggle to understand entrepreneurs, understand people that are trying to, whether you're trying to create content, whether you're trying to make a business, whatever you're trying to do, people just don't get that. This year I've learned that there's no way you're ever going to change their outset on life. It's no reflection of who you are as a person. It's no reflection of your progress or what you're doing. It's just the fact that they themselves are sort of maintaining this same life. So when they look at you trying all these different things, testing all these different things, even if you're having big success, they still think of you as a little bit all over the place, But what I've learned about that is just that most of these people, I've never had anyone say that to me that is making more progress than me. I've never had someone that's more successful than me say that sort of stuff to me. Those that get it. Those that don't. Right, and I've really learned this year just to really just shrug that stuff off. It is no reflection on who you are when people are judging you for the actions that you're taking. It is absolutely 100% essential to be trying loads of different things as an entrepreneur. I've had multiple businesses that work, multiple businesses that have failed, but they've usually only failed because I've decided that I didn't want to stick to that thing. And that's what leads me on to the next part. The next part is really deeply understanding how much constant work it is to make progress in business constantly, to keep that momentum going. It's really, really tough. People really underestimate that. There is no such thing as passive income. unless usually you've had some sort of silver spoon, or you are way ahead in your business career and you've managed to buy, I don't know, 100 buy-to-lets, and you also own a lettings agency that deals with the lettings and everything like that. But even at that stage, you still won't be fully outsourced. They will still be fires that you've got to put out in your business, theoretically speaking, staff that you've got to manage and all that kind of stuff, new legislations that come in with the government. There's no such thing as passive income. It just doesn't exist. People think to themselves that when they start their business, the early days is going to be really tough, where you've got to get it moving, and that's true. And then once they've got really good momentum, once they've got a few staff members, everything's outsourced and they can sort of do what they want. Now, although I believe, in my personal experience, it does get easier to a certain extent, it's never easy though, because what replaces that trying to build momentum is that stress, is the level of stress, whether that's stress in terms of the credit that you're trying to manage that you've borrowed, the finances that you really try not to lose, the staff that drop off that you've got to rehire, clients that leave and you've got to replace them, all that kind of day-to-day operation stuff, that never leaves you. So usually what happens is that when you build, when you grow, your problems in the start get replaced with bigger problems. And you don't get less problems, you just get better. But that doesn't take away, just because you're better doesn't mean you're happy to deal with that stress, doesn't mean you're happy to put up with that. It's always a slog. Like being in business, owning active businesses is just a slog. That's what I've learned. And it becomes a way of dealing with it in your head and relieving the stress, and your mindset becomes much more important than the stress ever going away. The stress is never really ever going to go away. Like if you're owning active businesses, you're opting into doing one of the hardest things that you can do in the world, and that is running businesses. Like there's just not really much things that are harder and more challenging, because there's always challenges, there's always clients you've got to deal with, there's always issues, government changes and corporation tax going up, just changes. There's always changes. There's always stress to deal with. It's how you deal with it. But a lot of people aren't cut out for that. And I think a lot of people are challenged in business right now, wondering why it's not working for them. And it's not that it's not working for them. It's that A, they haven't been doing it long enough for their momentum to kick in. And B, they're seeing loads of stuff online with all these successful people or people that they know, and they assume that they got there faster and easier than them, when in reality, it's just hard. It's just tough, and that toughness that you feel, that toughness that everyone feels, is very, very normal, and that is just part of being in business. And I would question, if you can't put up with that, whether this business route is what you want to do. If you're only like a year in or 2 years in and you're really struggling and you're not happy any of the time because you're struggling to run your businesses and you're wondering if that stress is ever going to go or things are going to get easier, here's what's going to happen. If you stick with it at a high level and deliver some good quality service or product, whatever you do, whatever type of business you're in, keep doing that and you will see momentum, but it won't ever get easier in terms of the stress won't ever relieve. You will just be paid for that stress. And it may feel more worth it in your head or not. And if it never does, then that's maybe a good sign that this maybe isn't for you. And it may just be that the industry or the niche that you're in or the business that you're in is not good enough, or not meeting your expectations of what you think is a purposeful business or a purposeful thing to do and spend your time doing. So that's another really important thing I learned today. That's just this year in 2024. It's just about things have got to be worthwhile. And no one else can tell you if it's worthwhile. That's what leads me on to point number 3, listening to people. Listening to people and people's advice. Wow, this is a big thing. No one in the world, not your mum, not your dad, not your sister, not your brother, not anyone, knows what you want. Now, I'll say that again. No one, no matter who they are or what they think they know about you or how much experience they have in any niche or any sector that they are in, therefore you think you should listen to them, including me, including any influencer online, including any parent or anyone in the world, in any profession, no one knows what you want apart from you. And when I say you You may not even know this yet. The whole point in life is the exploration of life and things that you can do, and things and opportunities that you can explore and figure out what you want. It takes a long time to figure out what you want. And what happens when you progress and push through hard times and just keep pursuing stuff that you think is right for you, but maybe doesn't feel 100%. Every time you do that, and every time you stick through hard times and make progress and you build internal confidence in yourself, and you build resources, i.e. money, staff, business, whatever, contacts. So what happens is that you keep pushing through these hard times, you keep learning about this stuff, and you're getting closer and closer. This is what I believe. You get closer and closer to doing what you really want to do, right? That's if you don't know what you want to do. Some people are blessed because they're born with knowing exactly what they want to do. If you're not, if you're one of the unfortunate ones that are not, which I am as well, you've got to lean into pursuing what you think is best. And it may not feel right 100% of the time, because it's likely that the thing that you're in now maybe isn't what you really want to do. It's not really your dream. But if that's important to you, you've got to always be open to thinking about what your dream is, open to ideas of changing if you find out what it is, but also not just quitting the last thing to go after something that you don't know what it is. You have to be doing something, because otherwise you're going to lose momentum and you're going to lose confidence and you're going to lose resources. I'll give you a good example. In the last, some of you may be wondering why I've started this sort of podcast again. The reason I'm doing that is because after a lot of internal searching, I've realised that this is what I want to do. And what I've been actually held back with my e-commerce business doing something that, although is good and although I enjoy and very grateful for, it's never been the long-term goal for me in terms of a passion thing. It's never made me feel purposeful to the fact that I'm working on it, even if I don't get paid. I don't care, all hours and stuff like that. Whereas this podcast, I do want to do that. I am willing to do that. And the reason I haven't stuck to it is because, quite frankly, I've struggled to put it into my day-to-day business stuff because I don't get paid for it at the moment. And I've been doing my media stuff online in terms of YouTube, all based around Amazon and that kind of stuff, even though I wasn't fully passionate about it, because I still knew it was a good thing to do. And I did enjoy it to a certain extent, and I was getting paid for it. Whereas this, it was stopping me jumping into the thing I really wanted to do, which was this podcast. So what I mean by this is, don't just stop what you're doing, because everything you're doing is giving you the skills, the knowledge, the resources, the money, and the progress to have the confidence to go after the thing you want to do. But you have to always remember the thing you want to do and figure that out eventually. I don't know fully what my purpose is. You may not either. You may not either. But if you keep looking for it, I believe that you get closer and closer and closer, and then one day, boom, you find out what it is. But you don't want to give up anything you're doing until you have that clear path, because otherwise you could end up spiraling out of control and losing momentum and losing confidence. And without confidence, you're not going to end up pursuing what you want to pursue. Without resources, you're not going to end up pursuing what you want to pursue. You need to be in a certain position to have the free-minded thinking in order to go after that. But what I mean is, when I say by people, no one knows what you want, I mean no one knows what you want. You will find that there's many people in your life that are happy to give you advice. They're happy to give you advice about their opinion of what you should do in your life. It may be a business coach, it may be a family member that you say to them, "Oh, I'm thinking about starting this podcast." And they say, "Oh, why? You've got such a successful e-commerce business right now." And they may think that it's a silly move to quit that and jump into the next thing, because financially in the short term, yes, it may be. But when you look at the long-term possibility of pouring your all into something that is your purpose, ultimately, financially, in the long run, that will be a better investment, as long as you give it the commitment it's worth. And that goes to anything that you're going through right now. It will. I deep down believe that will be worth it, but you have to be in the right position to make that jump. But that coach or that founding member that tells you to stay in the thing, let's use the e-commerce for me as an example, they're not wrong either. Because from their eyes, they're seeing the thing that makes the most financial success with the thing that may also give you other areas of happiness in your life. And they're seeing it through their lens, in their world. And in their world, they don't need that thing that you need. that long-term purpose thing that you're trying to go towards, because some people don't need that, or some people are fulfilled by other things in their family situations and stuff like that. So they're seeing it through a different lens. No one's seeing your life through your lens. That's what I'm trying to get across here. So you can take snippets of people's advice around certain topics, but when it comes to understanding what your next few moves have got to be, only you can do that. And a really good way that you can start doing that, some advice that's worked for me, is getting rid of all distractions in terms of the iPhones that you're on, the TVs that you're watching and everything like that, and the constant WhatsApps and communication with people. You need to have a break from that, because every time you consume that, you're consuming other people's ideologies and other people's ideas. You cannot create whilst you're consuming. Let me say that again. You cannot create whilst you're consuming. If you truly want to make some progress in your life to figure out exactly what next moves you should take in order to get to the next stage where you want to be in life, you cannot create while you're consuming. You have to go on long walks on your own, put your phone on airplane mode, and just be with yourself. A lot of men's problems, and women's, but I'm talking about mankind, a lot of the issues we face come from not being able to sit in a room on your own in the silence. People are scared of that. Now, it doesn't have to be in a room on your own in silence. You could be in the bath on your own in silence. You could be walking on your own in silence. But you need to be able to spend time in your own mind. This day and age especially, people just cannot switch off from the devices that they're using. And how do you expect to ever come up with original thoughts or original ideologies of where you want to take your life if you're constantly consuming other people's ideas? And the peoples that are creating the good films, the people that are creating the good pieces of content and everything like that, the good ones, the original, genuine, creative ones, they've done that from a place of letting themselves have thoughts of their own and not being distracted by others. So the internet does not have the answers. Your family does not have the answers. Your friends don't have the answers. Your coaches don't have the answers. Only you have the answers internally to where you want to take your life in yourself. But that won't come without hard work of introspection and also ensuring that you're constantly pushing and making progress. That was another episode of the Make It Big podcast. I'll see you soon.